So my job is to help you navigate the entrepreneurial life cycle carefully and thoughtfully. Whether it's you gaining traction, the momentum, the expansion, and then the eventual flatline, my job is to give you strategies to help you avoid or minimize that so you can continue breaking through and finding another layers of success. In business, there are cycles. The strategies that you use to make your first million, those strategies are going to fall apart around about 5 million. You can take your $5 million strategy and you can probably run from 5 million to 15 million. At 15 million, you're going to have to change again. Now, what does change look like? Change is going to probably look like changes in processes and probably people. Welcome to my channel. My name is Curtis A. Merriweather Jr. And in 2020, as many of you know, I was named a game changer by the White House Policy Advisor for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. Now, the purpose of this channel is to help entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs overcome common business challenges. Now, the way we do that is through education, consultation, and training. Now, we're unlike other channels because the information that I'm going to share on this channel is based on 26 plus years of progressive business experience. Not only have I had time in the trenches, I've also invested very heavily in my business education. I have an MBA, Master's of Science in Project Management, and now I have just completed the requirements for my Ph.D. So we're going to offer some very unique things here. And I believe we're going to offer a very unique perspective than the information that you're going to hear on most other business channels, just based on some of my experiences, lessons learned, and just some of my own process, my own journey. Now, with that aside, I want you to take some time and go and follow me on social media. I also want you to go check out our website at 8figuregovcon.com. That's 8figuregovcon.com. And while you're there, go and take a look at our course store library. And the website link is actually on the screen. And you'll also be able to find these links in the descriptions underneath this video. Okay? Now, before I jump into what I want to talk about today, I also want to make sure that you go to YouTube. I want you to subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell. So anytime I release a new video, you will be notified promptly. As you guys know, we drop a lot of content on this channel, and I want to make sure this information finds you because we could be addressing one of your challenges that you're in the process of overcoming. Now, I'm going to do something a little different today. Normally, I come to you guys with a bunch of action-oriented content, but I get a lot of questions about the training program. So today's video is going to be dedicated to just kind of talking about my approach to teaching you how to overcome government contracting challenges and how to get started if you're completely new to the space. Now, to work with me, you don't have to have any prior experience in business or in government. It's my job to demystify that process for you. Now, what I'm going to do in the few minutes that we have before us is I'm going to talk about the value that I provide to you in this journey and how I can I know I can help you in this process if you just simply follow a lot of the cues and lessons learned and the process that I have laid out for you. Now, the process that I'm going to talk about today is the very same process that I use to generate millions of dollars in just the first year of doing business. Now, I've been at the helm now for quite some time, but I put myself in your shoes and say, what were the things that I did that made me successful early on in business? You know, we have a lot more complex processes today. However, I don't want to give you those. I want to, and if you need those, of course, I'm going to show you how to do those if you decide to work with me. But I wanted to put myself in the mindset of when I was getting started, navigating this terrain, what were the things that that helped me find success and just create millions upon millions in revenue sustainably. I'm not talking about one and done. So that's what I want to talk about today. So today we want to talk about how to make government contracting. I want to make it easy for you. I want to make government contracting easy for you. Before I even show some of the screens I'm going to share with you, I want to start off by saying this. Government contracting is not hard. There are several moving pieces and parts that you need to be aware and mindful of and manage appropriately. I want you to be very careful of those who overly simplify the process. My experience has taught me they oversimplify the process simply because they don't know. They don't have depth of experience. They haven't spent as much time at the helm as they should be, but yet they're teaching people. I want you to be very mindful of the people who try to make this overly simple. Again, it's not hard, but there are a lot of moving pieces and moving parts you need to be aware of to make sure you can create a scalable and repeatable business processes. Okay. Now, now that we got that out the way, so what I really intend to do today is I want to make sure that I provide a framework so that I can show you briefly how I can assist you in this journey. So today's video, unlike other videos, it's going to be more of an information session, more of like a webinar to kind of just talk about the program that we offer. I see your comments. I get your questions via YouTube. I get your DMs on Instagram. And so today I just want to take some time to just kind of talk about my approach and how I do what I do. And while I'm qualified to talk about this to you and help you on your journey. So let's just move along. And let me blow this up just slightly. So, just real quick, first of all, I have the experience and I have the education to do what I'm doing. There's a lot on this slide. I'm going to go through it briefly. And this is nothing more than show you I've been where you're trying to go. So many of you guys know I do have a bachelor's in computer engineering from the University of South Carolina. I have a master's in business administration, so I have graduate studies in business. I also have a master's of science in project management. Now, this is key because many of these so-called educators and coaches cannot tell you how to manage or what program project management is and how to do it. I have a master's in that. And this is very key to your profitability in this space. And then last but not least, I just completed the requirements for a Ph.D. in management. I will actually get hooded in May of this year. Okay. Now, certifications. I was a COTAR or a CORE, a contracting officer representative. I have training in Lean Six Sigma. I was a green belt specifically. I went through the Defense Acquisition University, which teaches acquisition workforce members how to navigate the government contracting terrain, learning things like colors of money, how the government actually does what it is that they do. I've also been trained in systems planning, research development, engineering, spurting through DAU. I did some technology commercialization training at Rutgers certified, and I have a technical project management certification through the Citadel. This is graduate level work that I've done. Now that we got the education out the side, so of course I've learned some theory and all of the great things they teach you in textbooks. But what have I done? Well, my very first job was I was a intern in high school for Bechtel and Westinghouse. I was a contractor for Department of Energy. After graduating, because I started my role with Bechtel or DOE. I was a contractor for DOE in high school. While after graduating high school, I co-op my way through college at USC. So I stayed in a government contracting role, moved around the base in different capacities, ended up becoming a computer engineering intern for one of the reactor facilities. And that's all I'll say about that. After graduating college, I went and I did a short stint with Department of Treasury. So again, still around government. I got recruited from Department of Transportation, Department of Transportation, and got recruited to Space and Naval Warfare System Center. They've now renamed themselves to the Naval Information Warfare Center, called NIWC Atlantic, also known as the Naval Warfare System Center. When I served in that capacity, I worked for the Communications Department. I worked for the Assistant Secretary of Research, Development, and Acquisitions, Chief Engineering Office at the Washington Navy Yard. I still live down south, but I spent a considerable amount of time in the National Capital Region, specifically DC and Northern Virginia. While still working for SPAWAR, NAVWAR, NIWC, whatever you want to call them, I started running programs for the Missile Defense Agency, MDA. I ran I would say, Atlantic lead for the BMDS program. That's the Ballistic Missile Defense System program. I ran that program, and we did installations all throughout throughout overseas. I did a lot of overseas work. I was doing installs alongside SATCOM and teleport programs in Northwest Virginia. We did installs in Bahrain, my team did. We did installs in Japan, Hawaii, Sicily, Italy, Germany. Just been all over the world running that program. I listened to a mentor when I was working for the Assistant Secretary of the Navy's office. One of my mentors came to me and said, the work that you're doing is high level work that you should be doing at the tail end of your career. I want you to go and get more technical, develop those technical chops. And I did. And that's how I landed the role, providing support to MDA, doing those installations literally all over the world, making sure those systems were working, and those programs make sure that, we would not be attacked by hostile actors, and making sure that if, some kinetic strike came in, that our systems would be in a position to make sure that we defeated and deterred those incoming projectiles. That's what I did. So we defeated missile systems. That was the role, to protect us for foreign actors. And we did some missions in the Pacific Ocean and off the coast of Hawaii. So that was good work. After leaving MDA, still working for SPAWAR, NIWC, or NAVWAR, whatever you want to call them. Again, they went through a couple name changes. I went and started working in the cyber directorate. And this is where I got introduced to the intelligence community, the three-letter agencies, the NSAs and NROs, and a lot of those three-letter, I call them the three-letter guys, the alphabet boys. That's what I call them. So that's why I got introduced to the alphabet boys, DIA. That's where that experience came from, working in the cyber directorate. So when we talk about cyber, we're talking about attack, defense, and exploit. The whole mission, not just defense, which most people think about cyber, not just the patching and the hardening. After that, I supported the acting director of operations for SPAWAR at that time. And we were doing data center consolidation in Florida, Pensacola specifically. We were closing down our operations there. I was put on loan to help with that mission, to support the acting director of operations and my division director at that time. In 2010, I left federal service as a GS-14 equivalent. Many of you guys know the highest you can go is a 15, unless you do SCS or some hybrid permutation of that. So I left federal service as a GS-14 equivalent in 2010, and went in, of course, started down the road toward entrepreneurship. So now I'm a serial investor, entrepreneur, and research nerd, now that I've completed that Ph.D. And in 2020, I was named a game changer by the White House. But I just wanted to let you know that I have the practical as well as real world experience in this space. So I do not talk from a position of something I've read or something someone told me, which I'm not belittling the need for learning from others. But most of the things I teach and talk about are things that I have actually lived. So in 2020, there I am at the White House. I was named a game changer by the White House Policy Advisor for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. Okay, now that we kind of got some of those preliminaries out of the way. Oh man, my slide kind of got a little discombobulated here. But what this slide is attempting to show is that government contracting for many of you guys looks like just you standing in front of a maze and you're just trying to figure it out. Looks like Greek to many of you. And my job is to demystify that process, and let you know it's really not that hard. You just need a guided tour and a guided lesson to do this smartly, legally, ethically, and in a profitable manner. It's not difficult. And I tell my students this, it's not difficult to win a contract. The difficulty comes in managing, maintaining, and ensuring profitability in the contract. Many of you guys are on sam.gov recently, and you're putting in proposals and you're figuring out why you can't win. And we can talk about that in great lengths. Really and truly, if you see an opportunity on sam.gov, you're really late to the party. But this is what a lot of your so-called, what a lot of these government contracting mentors teach. They're not teaching you how to be proactive. Many of you are learning reactive strategies, and you're wondering why you're not winning. And then the ones of you all who are winning, you're bidding the contracts in the dirt. You are so low because you don't understand pricing, because your mentor told you to just put $1,000 or $400 or $10,000 on top. So the question I always ask is, of all the money that you quote unquote made in that contract award, how much of that revenue are you really keeping? And I hear people say crazy things. I'm not going to say what I was going to say. I hear people say crazy things like, oh, you'll never make more money than your sub. Well, why even do this? If you're taking all the risks, but you're not going to receive the rewards from the risks you're taking. But I digress. So whether you're burned out from whatever you're currently doing, if you're a college student or dropout, if you're a stay-at-home mom or dad, you're an employee who knows that simply more is available. Or maybe you're an executive. You climb the corporate ladder and you're making great money, but you lack the financial flexibility and the financial freedom that you seek. Or you're simply stuck in the 9 to 5. You get up, you go to work, you come home, you maybe spend time with children if you have them, or maybe friends, and you go to sleep, and you do that over and over. So if you're tired of that grind, you're tired of the rat race, you're tired of being that hamster on the hamster wheel, I want you to really think about what I'm going to talk about today. Or you just simply desire a change in status quo. You've been doing the same thing for 5 years, 10 years, 3 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, and you're like, there has to be more to life than just this. I'm talking to you. Now, I also don't want to forget my folks who may have pursued government contracting before, but I'm saddened to say that there's a lot of individuals, well-intentioned, might I add, but that are miseducating you. I don't think any of these people are bad. I don't think they have bad intentions. However, when I hear about the horror stories that come my way from some of the folks who reach out to me on Instagram or on some of my other social media platforms, and I hear the horror stories that you are going through, it quite frankly bothers me. So if you had a lousy experience somewhere else, I want you to at least consider allowing me to help navigate you along the way. But you have to be teachable. So if you're not teachable, I'm not the coach for you. I'm not going to compete with other bad ideologies that you may not even realize are bad ideologies, because you just quite frankly haven't been in this space long enough. It's real easy to be deceived about something you know very little about. And I understand and I see the trap that great marketing but horrible content has led many down. So if you've had a horrible experience, you found yourself having to, you were encouraged to give a contract back to the government, which is the craziest thing I ever heard of in my life. Because there's a thing called contracting for termination for default and termination for convenience. That's a whole conversation of a different day. We do not give contracts back to the federal government. We don't do that. And I've said that on my YouTube channel time and time again, but you'll be surprised how many times someone tells me that I'm gonna just give it back to the government because it's not working out well. That's crazy. But that comes from poor government contracting education. So if you've had a horrible experience, do not hold me to the sins of the former, please. If your current mentor cannot teach you how to manage contracts or scale your business, you need to look elsewhere. If your mentor cannot answer any real questions and you find themselves contradicting themselves often and you're confused, you need to look elsewhere. If you're encouraged not to embrace corporate culture, please run. If you're encouraged to ignore feedback from the federal government in the form of debriefs, this is another red flag. Debriefs are how we get better. I even encourage my students, win or lose, ask for the debrief. If you've lost the contract, they're going to tell you how you can improve by listening to the feedback they're going to give you. If you've won the contract, still ask for a debrief because you want to know what made you stand apart from the competition. But let me keep moving because any one of these things I could probably spend a whole video on by themselves. And you were sold on becoming hood rich or some get rich quick scheme based on special provisions in the FAR. A lot of these opportunities are sunk opportunity cost. You spent time, you spent money, and you can't change the outcome of what you've already done. Those are sunk opportunity cost. And in business, we abdicate, we abandon those practices. These costs have already been incurred, but the things you've done are in many cases not going to affect positively future outcomes. It's just a sunk cost. And a lot of these strategies that are floating around on YouTube and in cyberland are sending you down rabbit holes of sunk cost. But I want to show you how to obtain contract opportunities in compliance with the FAR. This is the Bible of government contracting, the Federal Acquisition Regulation. And I want you to obtain these contracts ethically and legally. Now, notice previous experience is not required or needed. It's my job to demystify this process for you. Now, when we pursue business, government contracting is just one of many business directions you can go. But I need you to think even further. It's not about the government contracting. Government contracting is a vehicle because there are a million and one ways to find success in business. Government contracting is just one. But you need to ask yourself up front, are you a lifestyle entrepreneur? Are you trying to maintain the 5-bedroom, 5-bath home with your Range Rover parked out front and keep your kids in private school? You might be a lifestyle entrepreneur. Or are you a growth entrepreneur? Are you trying to take over the world and have offices and 30, 40,000 employees, 1,000 employees, 500 employees, doing mergers and acquisitions? Are you a growth entrepreneur? Or are you a social entrepreneur? Yes, you want to build a viable business brand, but you also want to be a benefit or blessing to the community or some agent for world benefit. That's a social entrepreneur. Now, based on which one of these three, you need to make sure you have the right strategy for that. The way you approach lifestyle entrepreneurship is not the same way you're going to approach your business if you're trying to be a growth entrepreneur. And same applies if you're trying to be a social entrepreneur. They're going to require three different strategies and approaches. Now, there's going to be some commonality in the approaches, but you need to understand where those commonalities are. And you need to also understand where the strategies diverge. But you need someone that's going to help you navigate this process who knows how to execute the strategy for this. So you don't approach all three the same. And many of you are coming at this with, number one, different experiences, historical experiences, different current experiences, and different goals and objectives. And someone has to help you do that. One of the questions I get often is, hey, I'm working a 9-to-5 for said agency or said company. How do I do this? And I walk people through how to become billable today and generate money fairly quickly, or how to transition and build a business before you come off your job. Again, those approaches are different, and someone has to walk you through how to do that, as well as explaining the advantages and disadvantages of each approach. And this is what I help my students through. But moving along, now information is free. If you go on Instagram, if you go on YouTube, you pick your favorite social media platform where government contracting or business strategies are being discussed, you'll find an abundance of free information. Some of it is valuable, some of it is not worth the time it took to create the content. It's just the reality. So information is in abundance, but strategy is not. That's not free. So when you work with me, you're getting strategy. Because if you know where to search, you'll find a lot of the information. There's a lot of free resources I direct my students toward to take advantage of, and that complement the things that I teach, and it reinforces the principles that I teach them. So information is free, strategy isn't. So if what you're really needing from your coach, it's not a bunch of information. Of course, we understand you need information, and that's the foundation that we build upon. But what you are really looking for is strategy. I help you strategize based on what your individual needs and goals and objectives are, and we work from with the end in mind. We start with where we want to end up, and then we build our plan backwards, just like we would if we were planning a trip in the olden days. I would watch my father. We would be planning the trip, say up north. He'll pull out his map and he would plot where he wanted to end up. Say that was for our fictitious example. Say that's Washington, D.C. And we lived in Georgia. And so he would now find, okay, here where I am on the map, and he would map the path. We're going to do the same thing with you in our Zoom sessions. So not only are you going to get 25 plus hours of on-demand content, we're also going to meet twice a month for Q&A, and we're going to probably drill down based on the needs of the group of some specific areas where I see the group is struggling. And we're going to create a community culture, and we're going to teach each other. Now, you will never be instructed by another student. Now, we're going to allow our students to share their experiences, but I am going to make sure that I'm at the helm to help you navigate this government contracting ship. That's why you enroll with the course with me. So I'm not ever going to abdicate that responsibility and allow peers that are learning alongside you to serve as the executive authority in the room. I'm not going to do that. But if you guys are working on something similar, I am going to encourage partnership and teaming when it makes sense. Now, the day in the life of an entrepreneur. These are the different feelings that we all go through in life when we're navigating our entrepreneurial journey. So you start off, you're excited. Then you find out, oh, this is hard. It's taking more time than I thought. And it's not that it's hard. You just may not know enough to overcome that challenge. But that's the purpose of this guided experience, to help me help you to navigate that terrain. Then you say, oh, it's working. Then you say, oh, I made a mistake. Now, failure is part of the process. Now, when I say failure, I mean these small mistakes, these small hiccups that are opportunities for your learning, your growth, and your overall development personally, as well as professionally. I tell my students often, I learned my biggest lessons in hardship. And so when you work with me, you're leveraging my hardship so you don't make the same mistakes. Now, you may make some different mistakes, but you're not going to make the same mistakes I made if you listen to the tools, techniques, and strategies I'm going to continuously share with you. Then you got to make sure that you enjoy the process. So you give up the good for the great. Then I think I'm going bankrupt. This is when maybe the contract's not going well. The government not paying you as quickly as you had, or you had a problematic prime. How do we navigate this? This is what my job is in this process, is to help you ride the ebbs and flows of success, the highs and the lows. Many times we think that success is a straight line, but it actually looks like this is a series of ups and downs. And how well we navigate these determines our ultimate success at the end. Then he says, I'm good. I don't know why I get so down on myself. This is when that imposter syndrome kicks in. Then you have another moment. I was wrong. Everything I thought was right isn't right. These are just some of the normal feelings that we have. But it's my job to help you navigate this terrain. Then you said, wait a minute, something happened. You had breakthrough and life is great again. My job is to help you navigate this and to make sure that your lows are not as low as they could be and that your highs are the maximum, the optimum that they can be. That's my job. So you can do success at a low speed, medium speed, or a maximum speed. Now, my job is to help you run to the maximum of your potential. Your potential may be different from your peer next to you, and that's okay. We want to maximize your potential at wherever you are. This is not a one size fits all. So we are going to come up with a tailored approach for you. Now, there's a lot of things that we just should be doing, but we may have to make minor adjustments in the protocol that I'm going to lay out for you to find your optimal success based on if you're being a lifestyle entrepreneur, based on whether you're being a growth entrepreneur or you're being a social entrepreneur. And I'm not going to impose my views upon you. Now, you ask me a question, I'm going to give you my honest, unbiased opinion, but ultimately you're going to decide because my job is to walk alongside you on this journey. Now, there are 7 things that you have to do if you're going to find success in business. Now, we're going to talk in business generally, but specifically government contracting. You got to have a strategy. So before we get on sam.gov, which most of your classes, most mentors teach, I don't teach, but most mentor teachers go on sam.gov and just bid, which I think is crazy, but that's what's being taught. Now, I'm not saying there's not value in that, but we need to know why we're doing what we're doing. So first thing we're going to do before you bid anything, we're going to develop a strategy. I'm going to help you understand how you win and where you play in the market. Then once we understand that, then we're going to work on developing your positioning in the market. We're going to help you find out if you're in a niche market or if you're in a differentiated market, or you're in a broad market or you differentiated, and how do we manage that appropriately? Then we're going to talk about capture management, which is your end-to-end sales process. We're going to talk about business development. And then once you win a piece of work, we're going to talk about contract management. How do you manage the contract? How do you put the right documents in place to make sure you've dotted your I's and crossed your T's? So, you got a lot of folks going on LegalZoom and printing out teaming agreements and NDAs and don't have anything in there about work share and indemnification, arbitration, mediation. They forget all of this stuff, and it's not even specified to the opportunity. Then once we have the contract management in place, we're going to talk about portfolio management versus program management versus project management, and how to successfully manage a project based on best practices like the PMBOK, the program project management body of knowledge, version 5, 6, or 7, based on what you got going on. We're going to talk about how to scale that business, putting the right people in the right places to grow the back office of the business, to build top line and bottom line revenue growth. And we're going to talk about which pieces and portions of that process you need to repeat so that you can sustain the success. What I'm not going to have you doing is going on sam.gov, putting in offer after offer after offer, losing, and not getting the feedback from the debrief, not understanding your pricing. And so if you mess up and you win a contract, you have no idea what your real cost is. And I'm seeing way more often than I like people upside down in the contract where there's more going out that's coming in because you didn't understand your pricing approach before you put the bid in. And now you're trying to give the contract back to the government. And now you're willing to take that contract for convenience, that termination for convenience, and in some cases, a termination for default, which will get you suspended and debarred. It's very important who you listen to. We won't even talk about some of these coaches. If you pull their record, you see a history of contracts for convenience. Now, contract for convenience is not always the vendor's fault. If you start seeing a repeated pattern of them over and over again, and they start telling you they got, I got 50 companies. And you find that you got 50 companies because you messed this thing up 50 times and you never learned from it. I'm just saying. Now, through my approach, you're going to get some intangibles. You're going to learn how to lead. And I think when we own any business, we need to learn how to lead the folks we're going to lead, whether that's our back office staff, whether that's our frontline employees. You learn to lead. You're going to learn how to team. And I'm going to give you models and examples about teaming. I'm going to talk about my own war stories, and I'm going to be vulnerable with you so you don't repeat my mistakes that I make, because I've made some. And then we're going to talk about how to build a corporate culture. We're going to show you what's the importance of the mission and vision statement, and how do we self-regulate internally and externally to the company based on some of the processes and tools and methodologies we're going to put in place. Now, you guys know that I have completed the requirements for my Ph.D. And so a lot of these are going to be advanced techniques, but I'm going to really simplify them so that they can become actionable, and so you can implement them. So you don't have to go and get an MBA and a master's in project management and a PhD. I'm going to show you the shortcut and how to implement these things without spending all the years in education that I've spent. That's the purpose of a coach. Your job, my job, is to maximize your strengths and minimize your weaknesses through my education, training, lessons learned, and tools and tricks and techniques I'm gonna show you. So you got to get ready to be a game changer. One of my students told me they went to a PTAC meeting, and in the PTAC meeting, it was for new government contractors. He told me, he said, the lady who was leading, the facilitator who was leading the group, said, "Man, you're super advanced." And he told her, "Well, it's because of my coach." So he's been in my program for a couple of months, and now he's already sounding like a seasoned expert in the space because of the things I'm teaching him. We have completely transformed his learning curve. And that's what my job is. So if you want to learn more about me and the program, I encourage you to go to, let me blow this up a little bit. I want you to go to 8figuregovcon.com. I probably should have blew that up a little bit. And that's the main web page. Now, if you go to learn more, you're going to see a breakdown on what some of the different modules are. So we're going to talk about the basic modules and what you're going to get in there. You're going to learn about NAICS codes versus PSC codes versus NIGP codes, when and how to best use them. Because most people just talk about the NAICS. What about the PSC code? And if you're doing state work, you may see an NIGP code, and that term may vary from state to state. You want to understand how the government allocates money historically. You're going to understand the small business social economic types. Now, for those who know me, I want you to understand what they are, but I need you to understand you do not need a certification to find success in this space. And there are folks who are selling certification services, and they'll tell you that you need to be certified as an 8A or WSB or HubZone or SDVOSB to be successful. Do those things help? They help, but they are not a guarantee for success. I have met 8A companies that were 8A certified and had minimal, if any, revenue at all. So those things are not, they are not guarantees of success, but we do talk about them so you're aware. And then you need to understand what's in between a NAICS code versus a PSC code, and how should I be using them to best position the company and find opportunity. That's just in module 1. That's the basic module. Now, module 2, we're going to talk about what I call the essentials. You need to understand what your differentiators are in the market. What makes you stand apart? How are you going to win work and you have little to no experience? I'm going to show you how. You don't have any past performance? That's fine. I'm going to show you how to use the same strategies I used as a new firm in 2011 with no past performance to obtain the first year with millions, the second year was millions, but the first year was $1.4 million in revenue. I'm going to teach you those strategies that I employ, and I still employ more than 10 years later. They've been refined based on our size, but I'm going to show you those strategies so you don't have to go and guess and fumble around blindly in the space. I'm going to show you how to develop a value proposition and what it really means. I'm going to show you how to develop a competitive advantage. Because if you don't know where you're going, if you end up somewhere, you don't know if you made it to your destination. I'm going to show you how to approach teaming. And we're not going to go and call 3 companies, ask them for their pricing, and take the middle price and apply a nominal figure on top. We're not doing that. That's crazy. And much more. That's just in module 2. In module 3, we're going to talk about further about market differentiation. We're going to talk further about value proposition. We're going to talk further about developing the competitive advantage. We're going to talk further about teaming and approach and much more. And in module 4, we're going to talk about developing your artifacts. We're going to talk about the contracting process and how it works. We're going to talk about contract management. We're going to talk about program management, project management methodology. We're going to talk about that from a teaming approach as well. We're going to talk about the different contract types and the risk profile inherent to them. And we're going to talk about pricing as well. Some of this, we're talking about a lot in these modules, but I need you to understand how to price based on the contract type. You do not price a firm fixed price contract the same way you price a cost plus contract. And do you have your management reserves and your FFP, firm fixed price contract? Do you understand the different cost pools? These are the things we're talking about. And I've surveyed the terrain, and I happen to know that a lot of these topics that I'm talking about are not being covered in a lot of these programs. Why? Because the students tell me. I don't go around and look and see, oh, he's teaching this or she's teaching that. I don't do that. The students tell me. I listen to my customers. And then if you want to do, so you can take those courses or those modules a la carte, but what I recommend is that you either take advantage of one of our payment plans or you pay for the course in full. Now, we're not running any specials today. We ran a special back in January, and we ran one last month to celebrate my Ph.D. defense success. So we're not running any specials, and I'm not quite certain when we're going to run another special, but I know that we're bringing value. And I'm going to show you how to get rich slow. Because see, if you know anything about the lottery, when you get rich quickly, many people do not maintain and sustain the wealth that was generated or won. I'm going to show you how to try it and proven. I'm going to show you how to build a business from the ground up and scale it if you listen to what I'm telling you. And I'm telling you what I did, and I'm going to show you how to repeat it for you. And then last but not least, if you go to our store, 8figuregovcon.com/store, you can see the store and browse the offerings. And I'll go ahead and tell you, there's a couple new modules coming online for barbers and cosmetologists very, very soon, so that barbers and cosmetologists can also get a part of the government contracting pie and do quite well doing it. My wife is a testimony of that. We got together. She was a 6-figure salon owner. She had shut her shop down. She became a teacher for a very well-known cosmetology brand. She saw what I was doing in the government contracting world and wondered if it was possible for her too. Honestly, initially, I didn't think it was, but with some investigation and digging, we found out that it was. And she makes more sitting at home servicing federal patients than she ever would have in a salon. I'm just saying. And for those who are inclined, you can do both. But here's the entrepreneurial life cycle. And my job is to help you navigate this terrain carefully and thoughtfully. So my job is to help you navigate the entrepreneurial life cycle carefully and thoughtfully. Whether it's you gaining traction, the momentum, the expansion, and then the eventual flatline, my job is to give you strategies to help you avoid or minimize that so you can continue breaking through and finding other layers of success. In business, there are cycles. The strategies that you use to make your first million, those strategies are going to fall apart around about 5 million. You can take your $5 million strategy and you can probably run from 5 million to 15 million. At 15 million, you're going to have to change again. Now, what does change look like? Change is going to probably look like changes in processes and probably people. Now, I don't think people are expendable and we don't throw them away, but I need you to understand that the team that got you to 1 million and the team that's going to take you to 5 million are probably not going to be the same team. The team that takes you from 5 million will probably take you to 15 million, but that team will not take you to 25 million. It's not. And you can go from 25 million to about 25, from about 50 to 75 million with that team. But at 75 million, you're going to have to shift again to break the $100 million mark. And after you break the $100 million mark, you can run from 100 million to about 300 million. But I digress. You're going to have to be in a state of constant change. And so having someone who has walked this path before and understands what that looks like to guide you is going to be key, especially for my growth entrepreneurs. Especially for my growth entrepreneurs. You're going to need somebody going to be to help you navigate that terrain. But that's all I want to share with you guys today. So I hope this was helpful. I hope it addressed some questions regarding at least my approach and how I look at the world. And I encourage you to very strongly take a look at the course, and I encourage you to sign up. I encourage you to sign up and come along this journey with us. I have made it my quest this year and next year. I am raising up multimillionaires in this space, and we're not going to do it haphazardly. We're going to do it on purpose. And we're going to be very proactive in the space. We're going to shape requirements. We're not going to be reactive to the whims of sam.gov, but we're going to jump in front of the train, shape these opportunities, and steer them our way smartly. And just for the record, I do recommend a healthy mix of prime and sub. If Lockheed Martin, SAIC, Raytheon, Leidos, name your big, large business, if they can prime and sub, you should be priming and subbing too. And let me show you how. But let me get ready to get out of here. It has been a great time with you. I truly appreciate it. And if you have not already, I want you to subscribe, like, hit the notification bell. So anytime that I make a video, you will be notified promptly. And I want you to enjoy your day. And I look forward to seeing you on the other side. And happy hunting, guys. Let's go grow these government contracting businesses. And I'm going to see you at the top. Until next time.